Hi, I'm Bill Hitchcock, and we're still doing some Excel basics here. This time we're finally going to do something real on our spreadsheet. We're going to work with something where we've got some sales data and we want to try to do some calculations. We want to maybe try sorting, slicing, dicing, doing all of that kind of stuff that we should do with a spreadsheet. So I've got this sheet here. It's called Sales Stats. I just typed in some numbers so we'd have some information to work with. The first thing that you'll see is up at the top in cell A1, we've got a record number, right? Record number, rep or sales rep, product, sales, those items are referred to as fields or field names. You always want to set up field names on your list of records like this. And notice that in between these fields, I don't have any blank columns in there. Because if you put blank columns in, it'll mess up your sorting, it'll mess up filtering. Don't do it. Also, down at the bottom here, you'll notice that I've got a blank row before I put in things like the total, the average, the min, and the max. Always include one blank row after your last record of information. All right, so those are just kind of tips and tricks. Second thing is we've got this thing called a record number. I think whenever you type in information like this, it's always a good idea to keep track of what the original sequence was of these records. So I'm just going to delete this out of here. You might have, normally instead of just 6 records, we're going to have maybe 200 records or 50 records or, literally thousands of records. And, somebody might have them in that order for whatever reason, and we don't know. We want to be able to sort back in that. So what we'll do for the record number or the sequence or the observation, whatever you want to call it, we'll type in 1, 2, and 3, start our sequence, highlight those 3 numbers, and then if you come here to the fill handle, that little black box right in the right hand corner, when I mouse over it, my cursor becomes a thin plus sign. If I double click, it will copy that series all the way down until it hits a blank row. So if I would have had 2,000 records here, I would have gotten 1 through 2,000. Everything would have looked good. All right, next we've got our reps, we've got the products, we've got the sales. Now for the sales, kind of the same thing. I'm probably going to want to format those numbers. I don't know if these are units or if they're dollars or what. Um, let's just assume in this case that they're dollars. And let's get rid of the 2 decimals because it looks like it's all in thousands of dollars. So Chris sold $50,000 worth of cars, 30,000 in trucks, buses 40,000. Who knows if they're toys or something like that. So I want to get how much the total is of all that. And there's a couple things that you can do. One is if you just highlight these cells, if you look down on your status bar, down where it's got here's ready, and look off to the right, it might have some of the numbers in there for you. Mine's got the average. It tells you the count, how many sales or how many items I've got here, 6 items, and the sum. If you want to change that, if you right click on that, you can choose the numerical count, the minimum, the maximum, add all that stuff in, and it puts it right onto your status bar. So what's kind of nice about that is, say that I just want to take a look at Robin. If I highlight Robin's, there's the 3 records. I've got the average, I've got the min, I've got the max. So in a meeting, if you're showing somebody's, hey, what did Chris do? All right, well, let's highlight Chris's items and we can pull that up. That way you don't have to retype another formula in there if you don't want to. So, all right, let's come down here for the total. Let's use a function for this. So I'm going to type in equals sum in a parenthesis. I'm going to use the pointing method. So I'm going to point up one cell to cell D8. I'll hold my shift key and just start cursoring up with my up arrow all the way up to the top. And notice that I'm including the word sales as well as that blank row. And I'll show you why I do that in just a minute. The reason why I'll do it is I'm going to right click here and insert another record. So if I had, say another one and we say that this is for Bill and Bill sold some cars and I sold 60,000 worth of cars. Watch what happens to the total. It should increase by a total of 60,000. We should have 350,000. And indeed I do, because my sum formula is now D1 through D9. Before it was just through D8. Well, I inserted a row. So if I delete this, notice gets rid of that. My range goes from D1 to D8. So that's why I like to always include that. All right, for the average, it's equal average, parenthesis, come up to the blank cell, all the way up to the top. 48,000 on average. Minimum equals min, parenthesis. And finally, maximum is equal max, and parenthesis. And if you don't know all those different functions, you can click on the f of x button here, and it will either, if there's already a function in there, it goes right to it. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this out of here. Try clicking on the f of x button. And it says, what do you want to do? Search for a type of function. Type in a brief description of what I want to do. I want to find out the maximum. And hit go. And it gives some different options that might relate back to the function that you're looking for. So, those are all tricks that you can do. So here it's got the function. It looks like it's giving me D10 to D11. Well, let's see if we can highlight the range there and hit OK. And there I've got my formula right back. So that looks good. All right, so we talked a little bit about field names. A couple other things that we want to do here is we want to try sorting these records. So whenever you sort records, I think a good idea is always save your work before you start sorting, because if you mess up the sort, you can always go back and reopen up your file. So I just hit the save button up there on my diskette, and we can do this. So let's sort by, I don't know, how about by sales, and find out the least to the most. So there's sort in two different places. One is on the Home tab, the other is on the Data tab. On the Home tab, sort is way over here to the right. There's sort and filter. On the Data tab, it's kind of in the middle here. So what's nice about the data one is they've got a couple quick sorts in here, sort smallest to largest. Let's try it. And there we go. We find out Robin's trucks at 20,000 was the least, but Robin's cars at 80,000 was the most. If we want to sort by product name, now I've got the buses together, the cars together, and the trucks together. If we want to sort by rep, we can do that. Just cursor over into that column, we can do it. And then finally over here, if I want to get back in the original order, we'll get into the rec number and sort that in the original order. And we've got that all sorted. All right, other things that we can do. If I had literally hundreds of records, and as I scroll through, I can't tell what column is what. For instance, I don't know what this number 6 is. I don't know what the 70,000 is referring to. Is it advertising? Is it profits? Is it sales? I'm not sure. So what we'll do is we'll hit Control Home to get up to the top, cursor one cell below it, and I'm going to click on View, Freeze Panes, and Freeze Panes. And now when I do that, if I scroll through, and again, pretend that I've got a whole bunch of records, notice now I can still tell that this number 6, oh, that's the record number. This 70,000 is the amount of sales. So that's why we do freeze panes. If you hit Control Home, notice before Control Home took us up to cell A1, now it puts wherever you did the freeze panes. The other thing is, if you're going to print something out, what you should do is go to Page Layout, choose Print Titles, and there rows to repeat. Rows to repeat is kind of like freeze panes. Freeze panes only affects the screen. Rows to repeat reflects any printout that we might have. So I don't have enough records here, so you're really not going to see the difference, but trust me, just choose the row that you want to repeat at the top of every page, and that will be all right. So we'll hit OK there. So that will give you some ideas about statistics and doing some more formulas on Excel. So next what we'll do is we'll do some charts on a separate video.